Welcome to Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. This podcast brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at wyomingadvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. Well, the small storm that brought big rain, much needed rain to parts of the Bighorn and Wind River Basin and parts of south central Wyoming over the last 24 hours is having big impacts, but only over a small area, but impactful nonetheless. We'll continue with upslope conditions. Upslope is just now really in the overnight and early morning hours getting organized. So this will bring some damp and cool wet weather to parts of southern Wyoming, parts of northern and eastern Colorado, parts of the plains, and certainly the high country. We have winter weather advisories in effect for the mountains of northern and north central Colorado and southern Wyoming. And then some areas will see frost freeze conditions tonight, especially in the higher valleys of south central Wyoming into northern Colorado. Now we're going to go right back to some really nice late September weather for the rest of the weekend and the weekend once this system moves out. We'll still see some shower and thunderstorm activity west of the Divide and in the southwestern United States with a cutoff low, but high pressure will build back in elsewhere. We still have really big problems with the long-term forecast. Would love to give you a preview of early October, but the models are useless right now once you go past a week. And the reason for that is we have a big typhoon. It's probably the biggest typhoon of the season. The hurricane typhoon season for the Pacific has been slow like the Atlantic, but it's starting to ramp up a bit. And the reason why typhoons in the Pacific will mess up the modeling is once the typhoons go into the jet stream flow after they dissipate, that throws a lot of energy into the jet stream across the Pacific. And that's causing the models that handle the tropical storm typhoon situation differently. That leads to long-range problems later. So we have to kind of get that typhoon to go through its life cycle before we have any confidence past 7 days. Beautiful shots of mammatus clouds. You don't usually see a lot of mammatus clouds in the month of September, but a lot of folks were ready. Jan is one of them that caught the mammatus in southeastern Wyoming yesterday, and so was Jason, and so was Brian, and so was Kim, picking up those unusual September mammatus clouds with those showers and thunderstorms that developed yesterday afternoon ahead of that Pacific storm system. And then that's what we saw yesterday. Yesterday was kind of a mix of summer and fall with some thunderstorms and showers, but look at the low base of those clouds, that cooler, deeper moisture coming on in and giving it certainly a fall-like feel on the first day of autumn in many areas across Nebraska, Colorado, and Wyoming, eastern Idaho, parts of Montana, and the Dakotas as well. And you can see those low clouds, that deeper moisture and that cooler, moist air coming on in, but also some beautiful sunrises and sunsets across the region. There you can see the mid and high level moisture on the western slope of Colorado, and some shower activity will be noted again today in those areas underneath that low pressure system. So some nice photos to show you. Again, folks taking some spectacular photos across the region. A photo from space shows that small storm centered right here over northwest Colorado. The counterclockwise circulation is bringing that moisture up from the plains and wrapping it back up into the region. But as we showed you yesterday, as you can see in the satellite imagery, the footprint of this system is small, very concentrated. And you can really see that here on the water vapor. You can see the counterclockwise circulation right here where that upper level low is, but it's not moving very quickly. So it is going to continue to focus the moisture supply. It's bringing the moisture from the east to the west right into these areas here. And the upslope pattern, the circulation, was rather disorganized overnight, but is now coming together and getting better put together. Now this is a little hard to see. This is a radar estimate of precipitation. Just to show you what happened yesterday with the system. There's Casper. Here's Riverton. And up here you can see other areas further to the north along the east slopes of the Wind River Mountains, up into the Owl Creek Mountains, up into Hot Springs County, just widespread rain. And then we saw some really good rain down in Sweetwater and Carbon counties with areas over a half to 3/4 of an inch of rainfall. That's great to see in September. So as of early this morning, there's the upper level low about Craig, Colorado. See the wind barbs? The winds are coming at 18,000 feet from the east due westward. So those winds are rising from the plains up against the front range of the mountains. But notice, if you look at the wind barbs very carefully, we've got upslope conditions right here. But notice the winds are westerly to the east from just about south of Denver to Colorado Springs. So you can see how small the upslope pattern is. So it's not covering a widespread area. By 6 o'clock tonight, that's where the upper low is. It's going to be out over Yuma, Colorado. So it's moving due east, taking a full day to transit Colorado. So you can see the upslope conditions will continue into these areas here through the evening hours. And that's going to focus the heavier shower activity, some thunderstorms down here further south, but this is mainly just going to be plain rain wrapping its way from the plains back up into that narrow upslope band all the way back into south central areas of Wyoming, especially northern Colorado, front range areas. And if you focus in a little bit more, you can see the South Platte, Colorado area, very, very wet from the rain showers and snow in Rocky Mountain National Park, and some nice rain for the southern counties of Wyoming, the southern panhandle of Nebraska, lighter amounts elsewhere. And here's your snow. You can see the snow in the high mountains of the front range of Colorado, up into the Snowy Range, the Sierra Madres a little bit, even the summit along Interstate 80 between Laramie and Cheyenne. We'll see some fog and some areas of flakes of snow mixed in with the rain today. And then overnight tonight, be watchful for some areas of frost and freeze conditions. Here are your temperature anomalies as of noon today. So you get outside of this island of cold, and it's actually pretty pleasant elsewhere. But if you're underneath this, it's going to be gloomy and cold and damp. Here are your freeze warnings for the western valleys of Wyoming for tonight and early this morning. And again, tonight and tomorrow morning. Then we have freeze watches in effect for the Laramie Valley, back over into Carbon County, Wyoming, and winter weather advisories for the Snowy Range, and winter weather advisories for the high mountains of northern and central Colorado. By the time we get to the end of the week, this trough is now into the Great Lakes. We have a little sliver of high pressure coming in. This is going to give us some nice warmer weather. This upper level low is not going anywhere. So through the course of the end of the week and the weekend, for you folks in the Great Basin, California, into the areas west of the Divide, there's just going to be a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity kind of daily, right on through the end of the week and the weekend, while warmer conditions develop elsewhere. By the time we get to the weekend, there's that upper level low. It's just hanging around. So that'll keep showers going there, but west to east flow elsewhere. So mild Pacific air floods the zone. Temperatures will be pleasant across the region this weekend. So the last weekend of September, not looking bad at all. Temperatures rebounding and some nice late September, early fall weather conditions. But once we get into early October, this is what I mean about that typhoon out in the Pacific causing the computer modeling to be very, very different. Now, what I'm showing you here is right around the midnight of the 30th into the early morning hours of October 1st, Wednesday. This is next Wednesday. And what happens is when these typhoons get up into the jet stream flow out in the Pacific, it causes the pattern across the North Pacific and then eventually into North America to have a hard time figuring out what to do with all that typhoon energy once it dissipates and gets pulled into the jet stream flow. So the European model on October 1st looks like this, with a pretty good look at trough heading towards British Columbia, but most of the lower 48 and southwest flow. The AI version of the European model has a fairly good-looking storm system coming into Idaho and western Wyoming on October 1st, while the European non-AI deterministic version says no. Then the Canadian model has a strong cold front up into the Dakotas, but nothing like this. And the GFS model has two storm systems sitting off the west coast. So this is only about 8 or 9 days down the road, and we have a variety of solutions. When you get a variety of solutions, could one of these be correct? Could all of these be correct? No. Could one of these be? Yes. Could they all be wrong? Yes. So stay tuned. We'll have more for you when we go a little bit further down into the week on what that early October forecast is looking like. We'll see you tomorrow.